Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
All right, I'm Carol Masser, along with Nora Melinda here on Bloomberg Business Week Daily. We want to get into some of the stocks on the move today. Here to do that is Bloomberg News Deputy Team Leader for U.S. Equities, Jess Minton, in our studio. All right, good to have you here. So let's start with Paycom. What are we seeing?
So this is a software cloud company that works more in the payroll and HR space. So some of its rivals are Workday. So Paycom is in the S&P 500. The ticker symbol is PAYC. So it actually jumped as much as 12% earlier this morning, gave up some of those gains, but still actually up close to about 4% right now. So I wanted to point that out just because it did boost its full year revenue forecast. And this does tie to AI because it was driven by artificial intelligence demand. So obviously, not just when you think of those tech and growth companies when it's an AI story, but also when it comes to payroll and HR software providers there. And I wanted to point out too, because when you're looking at that stock, it actually was trading around right now close to $231. It got close to resistance from a technical perspective around 243 earlier today. So that was actually dating back to its December high. So that might be some of the reasons why we saw it pull back a little bit there. But A&R function, if you want to look at the sell side targets there's 4 buys, 15 holds, and 0 sells.
Wasn't it the number one gainer in the S&P?
It was.
It was.
Near the open,
yes,
right?
it was. And so and now it's
I had to look it up because I didn't recognize the ticker.
Exactly.
And it's, again, these software companies that are outperforming.
Right. And it was added to the S&P 500 actually a little bit more than 5 years ago in January of 2020. So it is indeed in the major index.
Up about 14% so far this year. What else are you looking at?
So I'm going to move over to the decliners today. It's the two worst performers in the S&P 500. So I'll start off first with Fortinet. FTNT is this ticker symbol on this, down 25%. So this would be on pace if it holds through the close. Its worst day since November 2009. So when you're thinking about cybersecurity and also some of its peers,
that was a really bad time, November 2009.
Exactly. So to go that far back, and it's the worst performer in the NASDAQ 100 as well. So it gave an update to its firewall refresh cycle. The problem was it wasn't as good as what sell-side strategists, shareholders, and investors were anticipating. So really, it was supposed to be this opportunity to update or renew that type of IT infrastructure. But that, unfortunately, the product growth, the estimates were declining there. And so that's why you're seeing it getting pummeled. On the sell side, though, William Blair, analysts, saying they're not seeing strong product revenue growth and billings materialize right now. And then, of course, Bloomberg Intelligence's own Mandeep Singh was pointing out as well that Fortinet is unlikely to see any big profit lift from its product refresh cycle. So you all are seeing those peers like Datadog, of course, one of Tom Keen's favorite. DDOG is the ticker symbol on that, down more than 4%. And then also looking at Palo Alto Networks, PANW is the ticker, down 4% as well.
Let's talk Eli Lilly, ticker LLY.
Despite her green blazer,
I know.
Coming in with some decliners.
I know. There she goes.
I know. I'm unfortunately pouring the cold water on it, but I had to point out because
but it's been on such a tear year after year after year. But a different tone today.
And this is the second worst performer in the S&P 500 behind Fortnite. So when you're looking at this stock, the ticker symbol LLY, down 14%. On pace, and I had to double check this, on pace for its worst day since August 2000.
Wow.
It is pretty wild there. So on the flip side of that, if you look at its rival Novo Nordisk, if the US listed shares here, NVO's the ticker symbol, actually up 7% because they're going to benefit from this. So if you're looking at Eli Lilly, of course, its outlook for 2025, top quarterly estimates, if you're looking at those types of drugs that we talk about so much with Mounjaro and Zepbound, those sales were actually soaring. But unfortunately, it was this study that they were doing that overshadowed some of the optimism when it comes to earnings. So it's experimental pill that helped patients actually shed roughly about 11% of their body weight in a late stage study. It just wasn't as good and as close to what its rival Novo Nordisk had done. Yeah. That's why you ended up seeing that pummeled. So you're seeing those two stocks diverge and go in different directions.
So we're moving from needles to pills.
Right.
That's the new transition here.
They're hoping.
Evolution.
I mean, Novo's having its own problems as well.
That's right.
It's just as we kind of transition through.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio Live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.